Good evening, everyone. I'm Zon Eastis, and we're calling everyone to the regular meeting of the Guilford Select Board on April the 24th, Monday at 6:30 p.m. Welcome to everyone here in the room, and welcome to everyone who's online. I see everyone is getting the hang of how to do this. We see your first and last names, which is important for us for record keeping, so thank you very much. Tara is here. Attending the meeting online. Hi, Tara, how are you? I'm not sure that Rusty was going to try. He's traveling, and I'm not sure that he's going to find a connection. So we'll go ahead. And first, I would ask Michael to read our rules of procedure.
The Select Board recently adopted a new set of rules and procedures. They are no longer the Select Board rules of procedure. They are for all Guilford public body meetings, and have now been shared with all committees and commissions. They are here in the chat online and published on the town website. These rules request that everyone present at the meeting conduct themselves in a civil manner. Tonight, individuals will have a reasonable time to comment on actions the Select Board is considering. Comments and questions will inform the Select Board's decision-making process. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Comments will be heard, not responded to. There will be no exchange between the Select Board and a commenter. No questions will be responded to. Any questions raised will be recorded and responded to in a timely fashion. Additionally, here in the room and in the chat online, there is some basic information which includes how to contact Select Board members, how to secure a spot during the community comment portion of the meeting, how to get on the agenda, and how to communicate with the board via mail or email.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks very much. All right, then we move right into the welcoming of the public. This is the portion of the meeting where we essentially open it up to the community for a few minutes to allow people to speak with us. Brenda.
Okay, we have 2 commenters tonight, and before we started, I noticed that Cynthia Clark is virtually in the house, and Cynthia, if you're there, happy birthday from the Guilford Select Board and all of the people who are attending online. We're glad to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the bad news first. We have Linda Hecker reporting.
Hi everybody. I'm sorry I'm not there in person, but I have 2 other Zoom meetings immediately following this meeting. So the bad news does have a silver lining. Sometime on Friday night, someone dumped an enormous amount of trash, household trash, on the Packer Corners Road, not in one spot, but scattered over more than a mile of roadway. And from the way it looked, it didn't seem like it just accidentally fell off the back of a truck. It looked like it was deliberately thrown overboard. And it included some bags of household trash, a lot of old plastic kids' toys, broken plastic furniture, packaging from food items, syringes, empty meds bottles, and other bedding, sheets and blankets. It was really kind of disgusting. The silver lining was that a group of residents was able to pick it all up, working together over an hour on Saturday morning, and it fostered a nice sense of community for us. But we were really perturbed. We know whose trash it is because it included personal mail, including unopened bills and letters. But we don't know whether that person is responsible for the mess or whether the person possibly was a victim and somebody, wanted to make them look bad, or maybe they got kicked out of their house and somebody just took their stuff and strewn it around. We don't know why they picked Packer Corners Road. And we don't know why they picked Earth Day, but it seemed like there might be some larger meaning in this kind of random act of unkindness. And so we did want the select board to be informed. We originally thought it might be people from Massachusetts since we're the first road over the state line, but since the mail plainly came from somebody in Brattleboro, I think that's no longer part of our hypothesis. So that's an interesting, unusual Earth Day occurrence.
Okay, thank you so much, Linda.
Yeah.
And yes, so the residents of Packer Corners had an early green up experience. And so our next community comment is from Julie Beat. Julie?
Hi, I'm Julie Beat, and a couple announcements tonight. The first is with my Neighborhood Roots hat on, announcing our annual plant swap. This is our third year having a plant swap at the Guilford Fairgrounds. It will be May 13th, 10 a.m. And we'll be swapping seeds, perennials, if you have any extra starts. And if you don't have any plants at all, you can still come, because every year people come, bring their plants, and nobody wants to go home with the plants they brought. So everyone's always just giving them away. So if you need some plants, come. And we had a seed swap earlier in the year, and we have a lot of extra seeds from that. So if you're still in need of seeds, come and get some free seeds. We are a little concerned about the invasive jumping worms. So I'm going to put a link in the chat that will bring you to, or if you're, you can go to the Neighborhood Roots website to our event page, and there's a link there to information about jumping worms. So if you have jumping worms in your soil, please do not bring plants with soil to the plant swap. You can rinse off your plants and bring them bare rooted. And if you're concerned, when you get a plant, you can rinse off the soil before planting them at home. And so the link will help you to identify them, so you can know what is a jumping worm and what is the common European earthworm. They look very similar, but there are differences. And
oh, excuse me, Julie, is that rain or shine, that date?
Yes, that'll be rain or shine. We can always meet in the big cattle barn under the roof. Yeah, I mean, if it was we'll be there no matter what. If it's a torrential rain coming sideways, we'll huddle in the center of the cattle barn. We'll make it work.
Julie, what was the date again?
It's May 13th at 10 a.m. And I'll post it in the chat after this.
Okay, thank you.
If you want to hear about all of Neighborhood Roots events, you can go to our website, which is neighborhoodroots.org. I'll post that also. And you can join our mailing list. We have events, we have gardening and food and plant related events throughout the year. And then my other announcement is about a couple of weeks ago, I came here and I talked about a Guilford Town Meeting Day. And I've created a questionnaire asking people to think about whether a Tuesday morning is the best time for Guilford to have our town meeting, or would it be better for Guilford residents if we held it on a weekend or evening? Any town in Vermont can hold town meeting any of the 3 days preceding that first Tuesday in March, so the Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. 60 people have already filled out the questionnaire, which is great, but it'd be nice to have some more. So I will also put that link in the chat. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for your service, Julie. It's always wonderful to hear from you. Okay, that wraps up community comments.
Thank you, Miranda. Thanks very much. All right, next on the agenda is changes to the agenda order, and I'm not aware of any that I think we have, so I think we can move right ahead. We need to, next is approve the minutes of the April 10th meeting. So I would accept a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Thank you, Michael.
So seconded.
So seconded. Thank you, Miranda. Is there any discussion here at the select board? All right, I will take the roll then. Just checking. Tara?
Aye.
Aye. Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
And Zahn says aye, so that's duly noted. Those have been approved. Thank you very kindly. All right, now we move to the section of the agenda where we receive updates and reports about various things related directly with the town. So we first have a highway update.
I can do that.
Yeah, Erica, thank you.
So there's not too much to update you on about the highway. They're still cleaning up from the storm. That's their all-day business right now,
Okay.
working that chipper.
All right, yeah.
Working that chipper.
Yeah.
And there's, do you happen to know if there are, I mean, this is just for residents in general, if there are trees that are potential firewood in just the right-of-way, is there a way that residents could know whether or not that wood is up for grabs for personal firewood, or is that something to ask Dan?
Yes, we'll ask Dan.
Okay, well, I can ask him, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because there's so many trees down.
It might be good for us to just note that at the next meeting, and then we can let people know that we're learning.
I would just add that the Green River Road Bridges reconstruction is coming along nicely.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Looks like it's more than half done.
Wow. Moving right along. Great. Okay. The next report we'll have is the select board likes to hear from one of its commissions or one of its closely associated organizations during this part of the meeting. And tonight we hear from the Conservation Commission. So Linda.
Yeah. Hi. Well, hi, everybody. Patti Smith is supposed to join us and said she would.
She's here. She's
Is
here.
she here? Oh,
Yeah,
Maybe
lovely.
a co-host right now.
Oh, wonderful.
Share her screen.
Good, because we'll start off with the most important thing Conservation Commission has done in the last few years is the natural resource inventory, and we're very, very lucky to have Patti Smith here to talk a little bit about this amazing project, which is nearing its completion.
Ready for me?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. It's really nice to be here at a Guilford Select Board meeting. For those of you that don't know me, I actually spent a lot of my childhood in Guilford, mostly my teenage years, and went to the Guilford School. And I now work for the Bonnievale Environmental Education Center as a naturalist. This inventory project was commissioned by the Conservation Commission to try and locate and describe the areas that are important for maintaining the natural wealth of Guilford, something I know you all care about. And I will now spend the next few minutes introducing you to the report and highlighting some of the major findings. So I will share my screen. I think this is the one I want. Yes. Okay. You should now see the cover of the report. Is that what you're seeing?
Yep, great.
Thumbs up. Excellent. Let me just rearrange a couple of things here. Okay, a quick tour, and then I will take your questions. So we have here summary, table of contents. The table of contents has links to the other content, so you can quickly shift to what you want to find. And, oh, I'm going too fast.
Mm-hmm.
First, I want to show you this map of the whole state of Vermont. This is a Vermont conservation design map that shows the highest priority landscape features in the state. And down here, we have a little inset showing Guilford, which is considered to be almost entirely a highest priority landscape feature. So Guilford is extremely important for the entire state. And there's a lot of nuance there, and I think you'll find that that is largely revealed in the report. But Guilford is very important in a lot of ways. So we start, dun, da, 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 the foundation, bedrock. This is a bedrock map of the town of Guilford. And this pale colored rock right here is called the Waits River Formation, and it contains a lot of calcium. And that is what underpins a lot of the exceptional forests that grow in Guilford. These colored stripes here you will read about in the report. This is the remnants of the Guilford Dome, and that contains some really very different rock. It contains some of the calcium, but also some things like magnesium. And this is Governor's Mountain up here, the bridge of Governor's Mountain, just to orient you. Over here is the Guilford slate, which has a more acidic soil on top of it, so a very different type of forest. The next thing I took into consideration when trying to decide where to focus my field work was the landscape diversity. The more rugged a landscape is, the more different faces of a slope, steep spots, plateaus, the more diversity you're going to find in the species that live there and the natural communities. So this map shows the most diverse landscapes, and you'll see they're really kind of focused on the western side of town with the less diverse landscapes to the east. And this is a soils map showing the remains of the prime agricultural soils in Guilford. I shouldn't say remains. There probably were more before agriculture was rampant and sheep were grazing on all the steep slopes. But it is interesting to note that the prime ag soils really still match where there is still agriculture in town.
Patti, where's the key for that? The color code for the.
There is no key. It's just all of these colored blobs are prime ag soil. If you want the key, you can go to the source material here. The Natural Resources Conservation Service has the soil map. Okay.
So the darkest, like mulberry color, would be the richest soil?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
All the gray is just the background topo map, or rather the aerial photo. And all the pinks and greens, no. Oh yeah, I see what you're looking at. These ones right here. Not necessarily the richest. They're all just different types of prime ag soil.
Okay. Thank you.
And here now we come to the meat of it, really. The contiguous forest blocks are one of the most important considerations in planning for the future of a town. And so this is a map that shows all of the areas that do not have roads in them. And Conservation Commission and I have taken the liberty of naming each of these blocks. There are 20 of them in Guilford, ranging in size from 34 acres to 4,000 acres. And the darker green shows the interior forest, the area that is away from development and roads. And that is the area that is really critical to certain species that depend on undisturbed habitat, like certain thrushes, ovenbirds, and at certain times of year, for example, bears really depend upon remote forests for feeding on beech nuts during the fall. And we will talk more about that in just a little bit. This table shows each of the forest blocks and some of the essential attributes, the most important attributes to consider when you're trying to think about which ones might be the most important. And they're listed by acres in Guilford in order here. And then their scores in various state rankings. and some conservation considerations at the end of each section. I hope you'll get a chance to read those, and this will be posted on the website for your perusal. So we'll just do a quick introduction here. The large forest blocks, if you can protect that intact habitat, that's the easiest way to make sure that you are providing habitat for all the species of Guilford. But another important consideration is how these forest blocks are connected, how animals are able to cross the road. Now, for some species, as you well know, like fox and deer, they'll just cross anywhere. But others are a lot more particular. And what I have mapped here are, with the red arrows, places where ridge lines or streams intersect with a road, and those are features that are often used by wildlife to travel. And the fat arrows, this is all explained in the key down here, the fat arrows show places that are also undeveloped along the roads. So the fat red arrows show ridgeline connections and stream connections in their intersection with the road. Now, since I only have a few minutes of your attention, I'd like to just point out a few things. Like this ridge right here, East Mountain, is a very important wildlife linkage, not just for the town of Guilford, but for animals that are moving north-south through the town. And you can see all of the incursions we have already with roads and houses, but the ridge line itself still remains largely intact, and it would be nice if it could remain that way. Animals still have routes to get around this development here. And one of the interesting findings of this and other surveys is that a lot of wildlife will actually use power lines as a travel corridor. So they'll come up to the power line here and then move along it to get across these roads. Okay, another big impediment, of course, to east-west traffic or travel by wildlife is 91 and Route 5. And there are just a few places marked here that would be the best for habitat connectivity. But I think it's pretty likely that there are fences all along the interstate. So that might be a conversation with VTrans in the future. There are also just a few places along Weatherhead Hollow Road where there is still connectivity, and those places should probably be, is that my timer?
Please keep going. That is 10 minutes, just for your information.
Care should be taken to make sure that those connections are maintained. And the same is true with this areas with circles up here. This is a much more developed area. The habitat blocks are not as important, but there are a few narrow connections, and it would be nice if those places, the habitat could be maintained and enhanced. Okay. Just a few words here about culverts, and I'll let you read that on your own time. Salamander Crossing, of course. I think some of you will be interested to know that we're done with salamander crossings for this year. Pretty sure they've all made it to their breeding habitat. And some of the things I was talking about just now are in the conservation consideration segment. The next sort of level of natural features that you want to consider when you're doing a natural resource inventory are natural communities. And these are places on the landscape where you would expect to find similar assemblages of plants and animals. So mapping those and making sure that they are all represented in a conservation plan is kind of a next filter down to make sure you're preserving the right kinds of habitat. And to find unusual natural communities, one looks for unusual landscapes. And again, back to the landscape diversity issue, where you've got lots of little pockets, you're going to find smaller communities. Guilford, because it's on this rich bedrock, has got a really wonderful matrix community. And we call it the Maple Ash Hickory Oak Forest down here in the southern part of Vermont. And I can only dream of what it must have been like a few hundred years ago. This is the forest where you get all of the spring ephemerals, wild ginger, lots of unusual rare plants, wild leeks, this beautiful plantain-leaved sedge. But because these are plants that grow in the shade of the forest on rich soil, they're plants that don't have a good way to disperse their seeds and spores, so they're very patient, and it takes a long time for these plants to recolonize after agriculture. So one looks for steep ledges, and that's where the refuges are for these plants. They've managed to hang on there and are slowly dispersing back out into the forest. And in the Green River area especially, there were a number of nice ledgy places where these plants persisted, and I really enjoyed exploring them. You'll see lists of those plants here. You're just going to skip ahead now. A list of the significant communities in Guilford because wetlands. I want to just get you to the next segment. We'll come back to beavers. Rare and unusual species, an important consideration. This category right here, vertebrate species of greatest conservation need. These are not necessarily species that are rare, but have been highlighted by the state as needing special attention. And these are all species that I have not found definitively in Guilford, but I am sure that they're all within the town. So I know you have Jefferson salamanders, blue spotted salamanders. I encourage you to acquaint yourselves with this list at some point, because if you do encounter these species, it's always worth reporting them. And you can either let the Conservation Commission know. That's probably your best bet. Let the Conservation Commission know and get a photo if you can. And same is true of the plants. We have lists of uncommon, rare, and threatened plants in Guilford. So there are just a few things that you might not catch when you're thinking about conservation, if you're including all of the different natural community types and deciding which of the big blocks are most important. And one of those important small features that's worth mapping and that I was sure to look for out in the field are massed production areas. This is places where beech trees are found in abundance in areas that are at least half a mile from human disturbance. And that's important because bears feel very vulnerable in the fall when they're feeding in open forests and beech groves. So in Vermont, any area that has 15 or more bear-scarred beech trees is considered an important massed production area. And I found just one of these in Guilford, and I will show you approximately where that is because it's in my favorite habitat block. But there are also a couple of these that are just outside of Guilford, so maintaining that habitat connectivity is important. So here's the final, the next half, I should say, of the report is this forest block section in which we take a look at each of the blocks and their features. So we're just going to skip right ahead to the Roaring Brook block, my personal favorite. So each of the sections includes a table at the beginning that has the highlights and most important features of the habitat block. So the size, Vermont Conservation Design's ranking of the block, whether or not it has state significant natural communities, wetlands, undeveloped streams, vernal pools, a mass stand. Each also has another small map showing the connectivity to that block in particular. Natural communities of that block, along with any of the communities that are discussed in greater detail. So here we have the bear-scarred beech trees and a description of the various wetlands, unusual plants, an aerial imagery of this block from 1942. You can see it was largely agricultural then, but you can also see that there are areas that were likely to be sugar bush and woodlot, and so have older forest on them now. And in conclusion, I will direct your attention to the very end of the report, which has a bunch of resources with links so you can learn more about all this good stuff. All right, it's taking its time getting there. So I'll just make myself available for questions for a couple of minutes.
Thank you very kindly, Patti.
Really?
Thank you. It looks like a remarkable resource for the community. And thank you for the Conservation Commission for pulling it all together. Are there questions?
Where and when will it be posted?
Is it, yeah, Patti, so we just need to get a copy of it so we can get it up onto the website as soon as possible?
No, it's not that easy. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not that easy, but I mean, as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, I think that the Select Board has been given the link to the current draft, and a group from the Conservation Commission is doing a final edit just to make sure there are no typos, and we need to write an introduction. And we're also discussing with a web designer the ways in which to make the report the most useful, like by adding internal links throughout it. So we hope that over the next 2 to 3 months, this report will be in the final form, ready to post on the website as a very usable resource for everybody in Guilford, both individual landowners and for the town as a tool for the planning process. So I think that's a reasonable time frame to expect it sometime, maybe by the beginning of the summer, certainly by the end of the summer, it should be up and available.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I gave Erica a list of all the other initiatives that the Conservation Commission is working on currently. I know that we've kind of overdone our time here. So if people just want to take a look at that list that I gave Erica, I don't need to take any more of your time.
Okay, well, we will look at that at another moment. Thank you very much. It's
You're welcome.
It's beautiful work. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure that people have a lot of questions for Patti Smith, and maybe we can invite people to submit their questions I'm not sure how to facilitate. I mean, I have a bunch of questions, and I imagine others who have heard this report do as well, so it would be nice to facilitate.
I can imagine that on the website we could have a frequently asked questions portion or something.
Yeah, we're also planning to have a public educational workshop later in the year. One of our initiatives is to have more educational events at the BBCC, and the one that we hope to have in the fall is a kind of a rollout for the public of the natural resource inventory and how to use it.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very kindly. All right, I think we'll move ahead of the agenda, which next we would go to talk with Dan Ingold about Guilford's LEMP.
Yeah, so this is the local emergency management plan that we have to put together and recertify every year. And that's important to do it by May 1st because if you do it, it gets accepted by the state and it also makes you eligible for different grants. If you do not have the LEMP done and certified, those grants, it's that you're automatically disqualified. So we want to put this in. So I want to thank people like Sheila and Erica who helped get me prior drafts before. I worked with Tyaga, who's with the state representative for this region. So anyhow, I updated it, and I know I sent copies out, but Miranda and Zahn, you're important because you're listed, especially as chair and vice chair. And Michael Becker, whether you knew it or not, but you were the public information officer. You still good with that?
Yes.
All right. So if you have any questions or concerns, or if you had a chance to take a look at it.
Thank you very kindly. I don't know, are there questions here at the select board? I mean, I'm grateful that you're doing this and timing it well for us, for our next uses. That's great.
And I did have Tyaga from the state actually review this after they did the editing and whatnot. She was great help, but she's fine with it. So if we pass it, I think it'll be accepted by the state.
Okay.
No problem.
All right.
Well, I had one thing I wanted to add
Sure.
is that the select board is going to be meeting to have a publicly witnessed meeting to set goals for the coming year. We're a little behind, but we're in the year. But certainly the impact of the storm in March and the big freeze earlier than that emergency preparedness has taken on a much more pressing priority in my mind. And
They're finding that throughout the state.
yeah, and so paying close attention to how to integrate this into everybody's consciousness, I think, will be important.
Yep, I agree. No, I was just with a state review that we had, a workshop, and one of the things they talked about is we never would have thought about this in Vermont, but we need to start thinking about cooling shelters in the summer.
Cooling
Think about
shelters.
the temperatures that happen, and they give an example of in Washington State, Seattle. You think of that as a very cool temperature, but they had 3 or 4 days of very hot temperature, and they weren't prepared for it. They didn't have air conditioning, so they had I think they were over 50 deaths that were because of that impact that they weren't aware of. But it's something that we need to start thinking about too.
Yeah.
So if it's okay with you, what I'll do is I will put the certificate. I'm certified. I took all the courses and whatnot, and put it in.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very kindly. Do you need anything else from the select board?
Nope. Just want to double check with you.
All right.
That's awesome.
And the next thing I'm moving on to now that this is done is getting back to the generators and about setting up a resilient hub here.
Right.
So probably in a month I want to come back and I'll
Okay.
have some ideas for you.
All right. Let us know and we'll get you on the agenda.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very kindly. Thanks very much. There's a lot of work going on here in our community. So are we,
Have we lost something?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I have to make Patti the co-host so she could share her screen, but then she ended the meeting.
Oh, she ended the meeting.
Yes.
Oh.
So there are 2 people in the waiting room.
I imagine most people will still be there. Yeah.
We'll admit them all.
Okay. I'm going to have to view up in the corner. Up here, there should be a view for the gallery as well. Sorry about that,
Yes,
folks. There was a
sorry.
little bit of confusion. We're working to get everything back in line. Okay. Let's go ahead to the next item on our agenda, which is old business.
Recording in progress.
All right, sorry, I'll say that again. Let's go on to the next, sorry about the technical difficulties, folks. Here we are.
Okay.
We are moving ahead to the next item in our agenda, which is old business. This is business that the Select Board has seen before. We want to just announce that the Select Board will be conducting a public workshop for us to consider and discuss the Select Board goals for the year. And that meeting will be on May the 3rd at 6:30. So the public is invited to listen to us proceed. It's much like a budget workshop where the board meets in order to consider things in an open fashion. But no decisions probably will be made at that meeting. It's just a chance for us to talk about our goals and get our priorities straight for the year. All right, we'll move on then to the new business.
Don?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Because I got kicked out and I wanted to mention something that was probably an update or a report. It may also be new business. And I had a community member reach out to me and want to know if Guilford could possibly refresh the center lines and the fog lines, which would be the lines on the side of the road, in the spring. I'm pretty sure we do it once a year in the fall. I know this is a question that Dan should be involved in as well for highway, but I definitely want to put it on the agenda to talk about it.
Okay, we'll do that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Would you be willing to email me and Erica with the question, and then and we can take it from there?
Yes, thank you.
We'll put it on the next agenda for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're at new business, and this is on the agenda. It says newspaper of record, and just so we know, as a matter of fact, normally when the Select Board holds its first meeting after the annual meeting, one of the pro forma issues that we take care of is just naming that we name a newspaper of record for the year, and we neglected to take care of that during the meeting right after the Select Board meeting, so we'll be doing that this evening. So I'd like to get on the table a motion that we would name the Brattleboro Reformer as the newspaper of record. That's what we've been doing. That's what we've done historically. So I'll just move that. I'll move that, and then we'll need a second.
Barry has a question.
Yes, I see that. We're moving ahead. We'll take care of it in a second.
Okay, I will second it.
Thank you, Miranda. So there's a motion on the table. Then I want to see if there's anything, any discussion among Select Board members. Then Barry, I will turn to you. All right? Thank you very much.
Oh, I think that for somebody to give a brief explanation of what the newspaper of record means would be valuable to guide the questions that the people in the town have.
I'll do my best here. The newspaper of record, each community is required to name a newspaper of record, meaning that it's just a way for the community to understand if you're looking for information about the Select Board activities, you can know with confidence that you'll see those, information. Special meetings, all sorts of meeting information will appear in the newspaper of record. The reason that we have traditionally chosen the Brattleboro Reformer as opposed to any other newspaper, the Commons for instance, is that the Brattleboro Reformer is a daily paper or a near daily paper, and that makes it makes timing easier for us to manage when we need to put out, for instance, special meetings that require 24 hours of notice. We can do that in a daily newspaper. We could not do that in a weekly newspaper. So that's the reason that we have chosen the Brattleboro Reformer as a rule. So so any other comments here at the Select Board? Tara, do you have anything?
Nope.
Okay. All right, Barry. Thank you very much for waiting, Barry.
Of course. I appreciate you having mentioned that, Zahn. I will, the timeliness, I will address that soon. I'm Barry Oleshnik, Melody Hill Road, for anybody who doesn't know, and I'm sorry to add a complication to what's normally a routine item. You all have enough on your plate, and I respect that. And I hope it's not too late in the process to possibly make a change. But I'd like to respectfully request that you do consider the Commons to be the newspaper of record. And this request is not only from a perspective of the intangibles, that the Commons is a local nonprofit whose only mission is to serve the community, and how valuable it has become to people in our towns, and that by our reckoning, hundreds of Guilforders read it regularly and value it very highly. It has a very loyal readership. People appreciate the Commons and rely on it for news and information and for sharing views in the Voices section. And we're very glad at how far we've come to reaching our original ideals and goals from when we improbably founded this paper 19 years ago. Those goals, among other things, are to be an important source of news, views, and information, to have quality journalism, even if sometimes that journalism is uncomfortable, and to be an essential read for a broad cross-section of the community. And we hope that you would support all of that. But aside from these intangibles of our value to the community and our loyal readership, the request comes from practical matters of the reach of the notices and of the cost, dollars and cents. There's a very practical matter of the cost of the legal notices and where they reach. I'm sorry, I'm getting my notes a little bit mixed up here. Let me get this. I'll try to explain, and I'll try to be brief. I know I only have 3 minutes, and I'm probably overrunning it, but please bear with me. I believe that legal notices in the Commons costs less than what Guilford is now paying, and that's an important bottom line. And they reach far more people, including Guilforders, of course. We distribute 8,000 copies every issue, and we track that distribution, so we know that most of those 8,000 copies find their way to readers. What this means is that we reach more readers in Windham County and beyond than any other local paper, and as far as I could tell, this is more than twice as much as the Reformer's circulation per issue. And it has good reach in Guilford itself. They fly off the rack, and we can't keep up with the demand, which has increased quite a bit over the recent months. Legal notices in the Commons would reach more people per notice for less cost. And to me, that's the crux. Now, I know, as you said, John, there's justified concern about timeliness in that the Commons is a weekly. But please bear with me for just a minute more, please. If you take a close look at the question of timing for insertions, it's not quite what it seems. I have the deadline schedule here. The other paper in town needs at least a day and a half lead time, and sometimes copy must be in as much as 3.5 days in advance, depending on which day of insertion is desired. The Commons has an attentive customer service crew, very available, and it has the nimbleness of a small organization, so it could take copy all the way up until late Tuesday night for the next day's publication. If our town administrator, and I don't wish this on you, Erica, but if our town administrator calls in even at 11 o'clock or midnight on Tuesday with an emergency need, Jeff Potter, the editor, affirms that he'll find a way to get that legal in the paper for the next morning as he's putting the paper to bed overnight. So, in most cases, for at least half a week, there's no adjustment to your timing of submission. There's no daily paper on a Sunday or Monday, so a notice which is ready on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday all present better opportunities to get in Wednesday's Commons than in corresponding issues of the daily for less cost and more eyes on it. And that leaves only Wednesday, Thursday, and early Friday, which might be more timely elsewhere. So I suggest that if this is an impediment, those 2.5 days of possible need, that Guilford do as other towns have done, having the Commons as the default newspaper of record, which winds up saving us a lot of money over the course of a year. And only in those cases where timing is essential and submission must necessarily fall on one of those other days, then revert to the higher cost of the daily as the backup. Lower costs and more effective. It's legal and accepted to have more than one newspaper of record. And other towns which have made this switch have expressed a great deal of satisfaction with the way the Commons staff has worked with them to make it work, including, of course, the question of timeliness in a weekly. So I hope you'll consider it. And of course, I'm available for any questions or further information, details of the things that I just presented. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. Very carefully thought through and presented, compelling. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment? All right. I wonder if the select board has anything that we'd like to talk about before we take a vote.
I'm confused actually about what kinds of postings we put in each newspaper. I mean, I really, and this is talking about me, you know, I'm not really aware of legal postings being the major information that the select board has been required to share, to share, to put out into the public. And so the cost just hadn't even been in my mind about that. In that sense, I feel personally unqualified to make a decision on that basis. If we had more information about what our priorities are in terms of pumping out information, I would be more, I would feel more qualified.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think a cost analysis would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah,
I think Tara has her hand up.
Oh, Tara, I see your hand up. Thank you, Tara.
Yeah, Barry, can you answer a question? Can you tell me if the Commons also has an online version that's accessible with any membership? I know that the Reformer, they have a couple different memberships.
Yeah, we have an online version, and in fact, it's a good question now because we're updating it. It's fairly old, but it's there's no paywall, of course, for the same reason that the Commons has been free from the beginning, as one of our ideals to make news as not a commodity but available to all. We do have the commonsnews.org website, and within a few weeks, I'm happy to say, after years in the making, slow, it's going to be updated. So it is in the process of being updated, and it will be really good. So anything, the question of advertising and costs for web advertising is totally not my bailiwick. I do know what the cost for legal notices are from other towns in the print version. So I don't know how the website will work with these kinds of costs for legal notices. But I'm sorry for a long-winded answer. The answer is yes, there's a website, and for sure there's no paywall, and there never will be, as far as I could tell.
Barry, I have a question about the website. As I use the Commons website now, it doesn't change during the course of the week. In other words, it's published once as the paper's published, and then it stays static. That's a difference. The Brattleboro Reformer does update its website separately from the paper if there's current news that needs to be put out. So I don't know if that's a consideration that the Commons is looking at, that there might be the option of
Yeah,
having.
I'm sorry, Ron, that's what I just said. It's not only a consideration we're looking at, we're on the cusp of rolling out. We've seen internally, what do you call it? The beta version? We've seen it already, and it's the last tweaks are being worked out before it goes live. So that's happening. And then it's going to be updated. It's going to be a modern website rather than what Jeff built way at the beginning. So that will not be an impediment.
Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing this evening is that perhaps we would be advised to retract the motion at this moment and do a little more research before we're ready to make a decision. And the research that we need to do is a cost analysis and our own version. Thank you very much, Barry. But our own look at what deadlines might be met and how they would be handled here in the office, an analysis of that from our point of view before we made a decision. So
Yeah, and excuse me, I'd also just like to, I really appreciate your dedication to the Commons, Barry. It's a strength, it's a Guilford strength to have somebody with your dedication backing the Commons. I'd like to hear from somebody at the Reformer to advocate for why we would want to continue to have them as the newspaper of record, and maybe we can just gather that information between now and the next meeting.
I think we could do that. Barry, I would also be interested, if you were willing, if you could advise us as to a community or three that have made the switch from the Reformer over to the Commons. It would be helpful for us to check with their town clerks and just see what's going on, just in the research process. So if you could get that to me and Erica.
I will get that information to you.
All right, okay, thank you. So at this moment, I will retract my motion that I made. I don't think we have to take any action to retract it. I think I can simply retract it. And we'll put it on again at a future meeting. Thank you very much, Barry, for your commitment here.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, folks, we will move on then to the next item on the agenda, which is under finance, which is the approval of the warrants.
Okay. I move that we pay the following warrants. Payroll week 4, 16/23 for the sum of $7,815.73. Payroll week 4, 23/23 for the sum of $6,878.98. Expense warrant number 2320 for the sum of $38,600.42 for a grand total of $53,295.13.
I'll second that. All right, is there any discussion for that?
Yes, there is discussion, and here are some of the warrants of interest. And thank you, Erica, for highlighting them. Okay, there was $4,633 paid to Du Bois and King Strategic Planning. And this is ongoing ARPA-funded planning work for the town. Legal fees, $1,102.50 to the legal firm of Monahan Safer et al. 58% of that, or $637, are allocated for Heron versus the Selectboard, and 42%, or $465, are allocated toward general matters. There are several repairs to highway equipment, including $2,846.50 for repair of the grader, and there's gravel $1,620 to Zelazny for gravel, and those are the standouts for this week.
Thank you. Is there, so there's a motion on the table to approve these warrants. Is there any discussion at the board? All right, I will take the roll then. Tara?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Zon says aye, so we'll pay those warrants. Thank you. All right, folks, next on the agenda is other business, and I'm not aware of any other business at this point, and so we'll move to communications. I see one here that's come to us, D2R2 bike event announced. So, Erica, are you willing to just summarize that for us?
Yeah, I have it here.
Thank you.
This is an annual cycling event that starts down in Franklin County, Massachusetts, and it has 6 different routes. I looked at their website today, but it's going to come into Guilford a little bit, and mainly at the Green River Bridge. So that is Saturday, August 19th, 2023. I'm sure there will be more updates about it as that date gets closer, but it's an annual event that is for a fundraiser for the Franklin Land Trust.
Yes, and we have seen this before. It's
Yes.
come before us before, so thank you very much.
Don, for
Oh,
Chairman,
Steve.
the Green River Village Preservation Trust is actively involved every year with the D2R2 and the Franklin Land Trust, so we work hard and in concert with them to keep traffic flowing and keep the locals, satisfied that they can get to and from work and things like that. So it's not just a one-shot deal that they send people up with no contacts here. So
Okay, there's a collaboration with the community going on. Thank you very much, Steve. That's good useful information. All right, folks, we will. The next item on the agenda is that the select board will move into an executive session. So before we make the motions that will move us into executive session, I just want to alert everyone how this will work. We will ask the folks that are in the room to step out of the room, and the folks that are online, we will put you into the waiting room. We'll have our executive session, and once we're done with that, then we will invite folks back into the town office, and we will also invite folks back online once they've been put in the waiting room. So in order for us to move into executive session, we need to make 2 motions here. The public can watch us do that if they're interested. We make, according to V.S.A. section, I will make those motions according to V.S.A. section 313A1. We find that premature general public knowledge of the situation will clearly place the public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage. So that's a reason for us to move into executive session, so I make that motion. A second. Thank you, Veranda. All right, we need to vote on that. Assuming there's no discussion. Tara?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
And Zon says aye. Then the second motion is that we need, according to Vermont statute section 313A1A, the select board will vote to move into executive. We will consider moving into executive session.
Oh, excuse me, Zon, do we have to invite Erica to stay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And thank you very much. We will invite Erica to stay here for that part of the meeting. So we'll take a vote to move directly into executive session. Tara?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
And Zon says aye. All right, folks, it's now 8:17, and I make a motion that we come out of executive session at 8:17.
I will second it.
Thank you, Veranda. Take a vote. Tara?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
And Zon says aye. Okay, so now our guests can come back into the room, and we can invite folks online to join us. Great. All right, so we have one motion to make here this evening, and I will make it coming out of executive session. The issue that we were discussing in executive session is a personnel issue, personnel-related issue, and the select board has decided that we will opt for we will explore the options of mediation to address the issue that we are facing. And that's the motion that I make, all right? Is there a second for that?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any discussion at the board? I think it's a good option for us. So, all right, I'll take the roll. Tara?
Aye.
Thank you, Michael.
Aye.
Thank you, Miranda.
Aye.
Thank you, and Zahn says aye. So thank you. We will respond accordingly. Eric and I will meet and move this process forward. Thank you very much. Now, we go on to the next orders of business here. And bear with me, I need to read out loud the actions from our previous meeting. And there were quite a few of them. We approved a sole source vendor for the Briggs Road Bridge repair. I love saying that over and over. We approved the Briggs Road Bridge repair. In fact, we adopted an updated personnel policy. We appointed 2 planning commission members. We adopted a new CDL drug and alcohol policy. We approved a sole source vendor for IT work here in the office. We approved an IT consultant contract. We approved the town's highway budget, and we approved warrants. I should also say that we approved the previous meeting's minutes as well, all right? The actions taken this evening were that we approved a set of minutes from the previous meeting. And we approved the warrants. I will also note that we, although it was listed on the agenda to take an action about the newspaper of record, we opted to do more research on that, and we will take that issue up again at a future meeting. So we did not take an action on that. So that would be an action to be taken. All right, we come to that moment in the meeting where we can accept a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Michael, thank you.
Adjourn.
All right, is there a second for that?
I would love to second that.
Thank you. All right, folks, thank you very much to everyone here
It's
in the
great to
room.
see you, Tara.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Are you coming back from Florida anytime?
Ever?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Week of the 6th.
Okay, good. All right, great. That's fine.
Okay.
All right, all
All right.
good. Thanks very much, folks, and we'll see everyone in a couple of weeks. Thanks a lot.